Good evening. I'm Angela Martinez with Harris County Public Library, and thank you for joining us as we proudly present Raquel Vasquez Gilliland. Raquel is a Mexican-American poet, artist, and novelist who explores myths and folklore, as well as motherhood, plants, and the lineages of all things. Sia Martinez and the Moonlit Beginning of Everything is her debut young adult novel. Sia Martinez and the Moonlit Beginning of Everything is an astonishing, genre-bending novel about a Mexican-American teen who discovers profound connections between immigration, folklore, and alien life. Sia Martinez and the Moonlit Beginning of Everything was selected for the 2021 Tournament of Books reading list. Tournament of Books is a competitive book club for teens and was designed to develop and encourage a love of reading. In teams of 4, participants create a reading strategy to tackle the 12 books on the reading list. The reading list is pre-selected by HCPL Literacy Specialists. Books are chosen from the latest selections in young adult literature, and criteria for selections include diversity in characters and themes, relevant and relatable subject matter, originality, and strong and memorable plot lines. There will be a Q&A, so be sure to leave your questions in the comments. I am now happy to present Raquel. Hi, Raquel. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you, Angela?
I'm good. You're joining us from virtually. We're in Houston or Harris County. Would you like to tell everybody where you're joining us from today?
I am in East Tennessee. It's kind of a gloomy day today, but it's beautiful here. I'm so excited because I started all my seeds from my garden. Like Sia, I love to garden. So that's the big thing in my life right now. It's my garden.
I do not have a green thumb. I usually kill everything. But before we get started on our questions, I would like to give you some time to talk about yourself, a little bit more about yourself and about Sia Martinez and anything else you have coming up.
Okay, I'm Raquel. That's me. I grew up in South Florida with my parents and my brother and my sister. I grew up very close to my grandmother, who influences all the wise elder women in my book, including Sia's abuela in Sia Martinez. I also grew up influenced by like the folk magic my family did, which I thought was an interesting juxtaposition between the Catholicism, the very strict Catholicism we were also raised in. There's a cat here. I knew someone would make an appearance, one of my cats. And I wrote Sia Martinez. Where did I write? I started writing in Albany, New York, after completing my MFA in poetry, and I think that had a huge influence on, it had a huge influence on the novel. A lot of those short chapters are written like my prose poems. And Sia was actually the third novel I've written. The first 2 were trunked. They didn't go anywhere. I can't think of what else. Oh, I do have another book coming this year, this August. How Moonfuentes Fell in Love with the Universe. And it's a love story. And there's magic in it too, and the ghost, so it's got some of those Sia elements. And is there anything else you need to know or want to know?
Thank you for sharing. I look forward to reading your next book. Yeah. This August you mentioned, I think earlier.
Yeah, August 10th, I'm pretty sure.
I'll have to look out for that. So as we mentioned earlier, Sia Martinez and the Moonlit Beginning of Everything was chosen by our staff here for the teens to read in this program. We discuss how books can be mirrors for our own lives and windows into the lives and experiences of others. How important is it that we see Mexican-American representation in young adult literature written by a Mexican-American author?
Well, I have 2-part answers to this question. One is my first 2 novels that I mentioned before I wrote this one, I wrote about white girls. Now, there's nothing wrong with writing stories about white girls, but the reason why I wrote about protagonists who were white, who had blue eyes or green eyes or violet eyes or blonde hair, light brown hair, or because I didn't think anyone would care to hear a story about someone like me. And so I think that is like the most important reason why we need Mexican American representation. It's because I want to tell young people and older people that, you know, your stories are important and you are important. That's what representation tells people, that you are worthy of space in our art. And the second part is that I was, it's important that it's written by Mexican Americans. A wide variety, because we're not a monolith. Everyone has different, you know, even within a single culture, we have different upbringings, different people. But I was reading I don't even remember the name of it, so I can't say it. I don't know who wrote it either. But I was reading a novel, and I'm pretty sure the author was white, and they had a Mexican American character in it, an older lady, and she called everyone mija and mijo, like it was like every third word. And she had this like famous like cornbread casserole that just did not sound authentic, and it just stuck out to me. I was like, oh, this doesn't sound right. You know, and maybe there is a, you know, authentic Mexican cornbread casserole out there, but it just, but when you have people who aren't Mexican American writing, if they don't devote enough research, you get stereotypes and caricatures.
Mm-hmm.
You get drug dealers and women who say mija every third word, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why having own voices is important. And
I agree.
If it's not own voices, then do research, lots and lots of research.
I agree. I mean, I wish I would have had this book when I was a teen, because it's wonderful to see my own culture reflected in a book I'm reading. At one point, Sia mentions she first learned how to dance to Selena. Her mom taught her how to dance to Selena. And I was like, oh, Selena. I usually get excited about Selena. Or you see, again, just a culture and a customs, the lighting candles, the saint candles. So that, you know, made me remember my grandmother and my tias always had candles in their homes.
Yeah, candle culture is important. We would light candles for, I mean, I would light candles if I lost something, or if we needed to find someone, or I don't know. Just I remember my grandmother's windows just having lines of these candles, the saints and Guadalupe.
They watch over you while you sleep, and I have one for the Astros. So
yeah, exactly. There is no prayer too small.
Exactly.
So I keep shaking my laptop. Sorry if I'm moving.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
So I love how unique this book is. It's this great mix of realistic subjects found in other kind of contemporary young adult novels. Sia has to deal with racism, immigration issues, a death of a parent, friendship drama, and even first love. But we also get fantastical elements of spirits, folklore, and to top it off, the strange blue lights in the Arizona desert. I don't want to spoil it to anyone, because I think it's best to go into Sia without really knowing what's going to happen. But when you get to that second half of the book, readers are in for a thrilling, fast-paced science fiction story. So like the X-Files and even Stranger Things, because I don't think the young ones will know about X-Files now, but you blend the drama of everyday life with the otherworldly. I have to ask, what inspired you to create this mix of genres to tell Sia's story?
That's a little bit of a tricky question, because when I wrote this story, I did not think, okay, I'm going to write a sci-fi, you know, or I'm going to write something like magical realism. I knew from the first image that came to me, which was the spacecraft crash. That's the idea that came. So I knew there was going to be aliens and like UFOs and stuff. When I sat down and wrote it, the other parts of it, the romance and the ghosts and all that, it just came. because I think it was a part of a lot of these things are influenced from my life and also what I like to read. I love reading magical realism. I love reading about ghosts, and I love the X-Files. And so putting that all together in a book was just fun for me. So I guess whatever I liked inspired it. And poetry inspired it too. Like I mentioned before, the form was inspired by poetry.
Thank you. Maybe this will encourage some of the teens to take a look at the X-Files and revisit that, or for the first time, visit for the first time, or even I think you mentioned Buffy. I know Sia's best friend likes writing Buffy fan fiction.
I love Buffy fan fiction so much. People don't really write it as much anymore. When I go to like my old fan sites or fan fiction sites, there aren't much new Buffy literature. Makes me a little sad because I've read like all the old ones.
So from the cover of the book, the lights in the sky, to even the poem that Noah writes to Sia, the color blue is frequently seen or mentioned throughout the book. Could you expand on the importance of the color?
You know, this is like the first time someone has asked me this question. So I'm like, I have no idea how to answer it. I really like, I think the big thing for me with blue is how it sounds. I love writing the word blue. I love saying the word blue. It's a fun word. It's short, but there's a resonance to it. And I think for me, the love of blue was the sound and the look of the word. Now, the color itself, I think blue lighting there's something kind of a little bit cool and creepy about it. Like when you're watching a film and things are getting weird, they usually get a blue filter or some blue lighting, like in Stranger Things. When you get into the upside down, it's a cool colored lighting. It's not warm. And so maybe that also is something that made me write blue a lot. The idea that this is a sci-fi with aliens and other extraterrestrial, I don't know, a plot line. Elements. There we go.
Yeah, because I mean, you do see blue a lot in a lot of sci-fi, like for space, different planets or the sky. And even Sia painted her room teal, which is sort of bluish. But that was because of the ocean. Again, the ocean's blue, and it can be lighter blue, or it can be that darker, murky blue. So I just thought
the sky in the desert can be such a rich blue as well.
Yeah. So I just thought, just reading it, I just picked that up, and I was like, I wonder if there was something going on here.
Well, there probably was. So much of it is unconscious, and I'm just not aware of it. Like, I recently read a review that I was like, oh my gosh, she's right. I just didn't know it. Like I just don't know some of these things people are figuring out about my work. So,
well, it's so great that, when you revisit things or you just pick up on these things, and you maybe intended to or not to intend to, but it fit perfectly.
Sorry, my cat just scratched me. Go ahead. It fit perfectly. Thank you.
So I know you are a published poet. What inspired you to move on to young adult novels, or were you planning on writing a young adult novel?
Actually, I was a young adult novelist first.
Oh, okay.
Well, unless we go back to third grade, I wrote poems first. But when I started writing, like more seriously, I started with young adult novels, like as a teenager. And then I kept writing on young adult novels throughout my 20s, or at least attempting to. And so that came first. I wanted to write a young adult novel, and it didn't really work out until I studied poetry. And I feel like poetry got me to finally be able to say what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it. So,
do you think you'll ever get to a point where you want to write a young adult novel in verse or in prose?
Well, funny you should ask that. Actually, no, I don't have one written. I have a middle grade novel written and almost finished in verse. I haven't yet thought of an idea for a young adult novel, but I'm not opposed to it. I love reading books in verse. I would love to write one in verse.
Well, I hope to see one from you in verse soon.
Thank
the
you.
So before we move on to our Q&A from the audience, I have one final question for you. Every year, we hope that the books selected for tournament books change or deepens a student's way of thinking. So is there a book that you've read that changed or deepened your way of thinking?
Yes, I have a couple. I wrote down a couple of books. One is Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Now, it's a nonfiction book, but I feel like any age can read it. It's a book to me, it's a book about learning our place with nature. And if you're someone, because like the culture likes to tell us that humans are like against nature, like we're no good for nature, but she reminds us in the book that we come from it and we can work in reciprocity with the natural world. And it's a beautiful book and inspired me to get sweetgrass and grow it. I love it. And it made me cry so much. I took such a long time to read it because I kept weeping. Now, the next one is right here, Land of the Cranes. Now, that's the middle grade novel in verse by Ida Salazar. I don't know if you can see it. Okay, there we go. It's a book about Bebita, a young girl who was in detention on the border. It's just a book that opened my mind and my heart to what these children are going through and have gone through and are still going through. And it's in verse and just beautifully written, as all of Ida's books are. I recently finished Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. Just an amazing adventure. And just reading about my culture in a book or a story inspired by my culture, just like, I just felt this beautiful connection. It's also a great, great story. And I have another book to recommend. This is probably pretty nerdy of me, but I have a gardening book to recommend. This is called The Garden Awakening by Mary Reynolds. And I bought this book like 2 years ago, and it's wearing down how much I read it and reference it. And it's a similar feeling I got from Braiding Sweetgrass, which was you can connect with the natural world through gardening. It's very spiritual too, which is my books, Sia and Moon Fuentes, and my poetry are the foundation of it is from my belief that we are connected to everything. So that's what this book also affirms. So I hope that's okay.
Yeah, that sounds great. We're gonna have to compile that and put that out there for our viewers, so they can see where they can check out these books or buy these books. I know I probably need Gardening Awakening because I would love to start trying to grow a garden, but again, I kill everything. So,
I kill lots of things too, but don't let that stop you. Like any gardener will tell you, the trick to success is to not worry about all the plants you kill, because it's just gonna happen. It's totally normal. Trust me.
Thank you. I feel a little better now. So let's go ahead and see what questions have come through. I'm going to start with one from Jasmine. She would like to know, what made you want to write a book?
Oh, I love books when I was little. I'm a speed reader naturally. I can read. If I had the time, I could read about a book a day. And that's what I did when I was a kid and a teenager. And I just loving to read books made me want to write one.
Thank you, Jasmine. Looks like we have another one. This is from Becky. Where did you draw inspiration for Sia Martinez?
I drew inspiration from the political climate at the time, and still ongoing. I drew inspiration from my family growing up, my grandmother. I drew inspiration from X-Files, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, from poetry, from cosmology, which is if you don't know, anyone watching doesn't know, cosmology is like the creation myths of a culture. And that's all I can think right now. I'm sure there's lots of other ones.
I know my dad loves watching Ancient Aliens, so when I was
Oh
kind of
yeah.
talking about this book, he was like, aliens. I'm like,
Ancient Aliens kind of scares me. The music they play, it makes me too nervous. I can't watch it. Even though it's like it's not a horror show, it scares me. So
I was that way when I was a kid with the X-Files because I was really young when it first came on, TV, but the opening theme song was always like creeped me out. And it wasn't until when I was older that I went back and watched the show and I was like, well, this is a great show.
yeah, some of it is still scary though.
Let's see our next question. Do you think your books will ever be a movie or a series?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. Actually, I think I have a mug, a coffee mug that says Annapurna Studios because Sia Martinez was optioned to be a TV series. And I have some cool news with that I can't tell anyone. It's a secret. So, but yeah, I think so. I think it could happen. It's gonna happen. So,
Well, congratulations. This is exciting. I'm going to look forward to watching it.
yeah, I want to see it too. I'm so excited.
So thank you, Jasmine. So we have one from Michelle. Michelle would like, I would have liked to read this growing up to understand culture more. My parents are Mexican American, but they didn't raise us with their culture because we're in America. So it's not really a question, but we have a comment. Let's see. Regina wants to know, are you familiar with the original CW show Roswell and the current remake Roswell, New Mexico? I love how the recent adaptation of the show features a Mexican American family and addresses the immigration topic. The show is riddled with stereotypes that do not ring true for all Mexican Americans.
I have heard of the show. I haven't seen it, but my mother has told me about it. She called me up and said, and my mom doesn't ever know the names of things, but I'm pretty sure this is what she's talking about. She's like, there's a show with a Mexican girl and there's aliens. And I thought about Sia. And she's like, it's okay. It's not great, but I'll keep watching it. So that's what I know about this show from my mother. I haven't seen it though, but I'm interested to see it.
Okay, let's see. We have another one. Do you have any advice for our teen patrons who would like to become published authors, or any tips on the writing process in general?
Oh, tips. Well, my biggest tip, I always feel like it's boring, but write consistently. You don't have to write every day or even every week, but writing consistently is the only way you'll improve. So putting those words in. And sorry, I'm trying to remember. There's like two questions. One was getting published. Read a lot. There's a website called Query Shark that will help you fine tune your query. That's what I used for the Sia Martinez query. And if you go on my website under essays, there is an essay called How I Got My Agent, and you can read the Sia Martinez query on there if you're interested. What was the last part of the question? I can't remember it.
Any tips on the writing process in general?
Read poetry. It's going to be so good for your prose. At least it was for me. So,
do you have any favorite poets?
Yeah, Linda Hogan. I don't know how to say her surname, but our current U.S. poet laureate, Joy Harjo. I love Mary Oliver. And this is what we're talking about pre-show. Alberto Rios, A Small Story About the Sky, is just beautiful. I recommend that as well.
Okay.
June Jordan. Sorry, they're popping in my head now. Go ahead.
Again, I think we're gonna have a whole list of Raquel recommends after this. Let's see, who do we have next on here? This made me think of the TV show Party of Five and how the remake focused on Mexican American family as well. Do you think these new TV shows portray the culture well?
Oh, I haven't seen them, so I don't really I can't have a a decent opinion since I haven't seen them. I'm so behind on like pop culture. I literally what have I been watching? Oh, I've been catching up on Gilmore Girls. You know, that show is so sorry. I haven't seen anything really that new. Forgive me.
I know. I'm rewatching like Modern Family right now. So I get it. It's good.
Yeah.
So let's see. Are you planning to write more books after your book comes out? So anything else after Moon Fuentes?
Yes, I have a YA book I'm revising. I almost say the name, but I don't want to yet. I'm superstitious. It's a book about robots and ghosts set in futuristic Appalachia. And I'm going to tell a little writer's horror story. I spent almost 2 years working on a manuscript, and I put in and took out about 130,000 words. And I recently, about 3 weeks ago, realized I'm gonna have to restart the whole thing. So yes, I am. I'm going to do it. I'm just so determined to get this book right. I'm gonna do it. So
I like that. You're going from like Sia to like a love story. We go right was Moon Fuentes. Sorry, had ghost in it.
Yeah, there is one ghost.
And then now to like a dystopian almost.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. It's I don't know. I love it so much. I want to get into it. I'm superstitious.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. So, we'll move on.
But I'm excited.
Let's see. When you submit your final manuscript to the publisher, how many edits does it go through before it goes to the final print as a book?
Well, for Sia Martinez, I actually, when the final manuscript went, it had been revised a couple times before. Then when it went to the publisher, I revised it 2 more times with my editor. And then came line edits, which are like, the editor goes through and makes sure that all your lines make sense. So there's nothing that can be more concise or nothing confusing. And then it goes through copy editors. Now, I've had both books go through like 3 rounds of copy edits, and there are still errors in them that I spot well after, or people write to me and tell me they spot an error. I'm like, sorry. So yeah, it's a process.
And it looks like Cassie has a follow-up question. Do you still have creative control of your writing once you relinquish it to the publisher, or is it really their property and what they want to do, what they want you to do to get it printed is what has to be done?
You know, I can't speak for all publishers, but like for me at Simon & Schuster, I had the final say on whatever was suggested to me. And there were some things where I was like, we're keeping that in. That's important to me. And there were some things where I was like, you know, you're right. We're going to take that out. So I definitely had I think authors in general have that control. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Cassie. So there's another question here. I'm not sure if you mentioned it yet, but how long did it take you to write this book? Sia.
Excuse me. From start to finish. Now I have the notebook I started it on here. This is where I started the book. And here's the list of characters. I'm like, I think I'm going to have Artemisia on there. And I had Noah was first called Clay before I changed his name. And then I don't know if you can see it, but the first line is, it's been exactly 619 days since I found out Mama, which I changed, died, and only one since I got my revenge. So I just changed the tense. It's basically the same sentence. So yeah, if that's cool, I think that's cool that I have that.
That's
so
amazing.
I started writing it by hand, which is a little slower, but I had to because I was nursing my son at the time, and that was the only time I could write. It was like baby writing, you know. And it took, I want to say from start to finish, took 9 months. And then I think I spent a couple of months revising it. I didn't take a ton of time revising it. And then I took like a whole month on the query before sending it out. So yeah, about 9 months or so. I don't know if that sounds long. My next book I only wrote in 6 months. But now the books I'm writing are taking forever. So it seems short to me now to hear 9 months and 6 months.
That's amazing. Just like a regular notebook that, you know, our students will have in their possession.
Yeah, I got it at
a story.
Target.
That's amazing. That's inspiring. Let's see. We have a few more questions. Was there anything edited out of your books that you wish would have stayed in? And this is from Jennifer. So sorry.
No. Like I said, with the other question on author control, I had the final say on what got to stay and what didn't. And, you know, for Sia Martinez, the book, when I submitted it to my agent, it was 45,000 words. 45,000, is that right? Most YA books are double that. So it was a really skinny book. So what we did was add to it. And then with my editor, we added some more. So it wasn't really a let's delete stuff book.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer, for your question. We have another question here. When did you realize you wanted to be a writer?
4th grade, Miss Berry's class, I declared it. I said, I'm going to be a writer and illustrator. I haven't illustrated yet, but I will.
I love that. I declared it.
Yeah.
Like in front of the whole class.
And Miss Berry has Sia Martinez now. I got to FaceTime with her. She had the book. So that was cool.
That is so, it's almost like you come full circle from
Yeah.
Miss Berry's class.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have are you from, oh wait, sorry, we already have that one. I do have a question of my own. Do you have, because I know you do, like I mentioned earlier, Sia learned to dance to Tecnocumbia to Selena. Do you have a favorite Selena song?
Ooh, hold on. I'm going to totally blank now, aren't I? Can I look it up on my phone? I'm going to look up a list of songs because I listened to Selena nonstop when I was a kid and older. And I danced to Selena. My mother would dance with a broom. That was what inspired that as well. Selena songs. Okay, let's see. I just want a list. You know, I loved I Could Fall in Love. That was one of our English crossover. I thought I was Selena when I sang that in the shower. So I could say that one for dancing. I like Bitty Bitty Bom Bom. That's everyone's favorite probably, but it's such a fun song. Oh, sorry.
Oh, let's see. Raquel's gonna fix her mic. Sorry. So our next question is from Jasmine. If you wanted to do anything else besides write books, would you? Oh, you're still muted. Raquel, you're muted. Sorry.
Hi.
Hi. There you go.
Okay, sorry. I don't know what just happened. I just pulled my earbuds out and then muted myself. And okay. I have 10 years of training in visual art, specifically painting. And I still, you know, I can't paint as much with a little kid because there's so much materials and so much that can go wrong. Writing is just a lot cleaner. So I have spent a lot of time writing recent years, but I want to get into illustrating. So I think I would illustrate. Maybe.
That's one of your goals.
Yeah, maybe I would illustrate.
And you know, I don't think we touched on this yet, but Sia, she's named after a painter, right? Correct?
Yeah, Artemisia Gentileschi.
Do you have a favorite painter?
Oh yes, I do. She's a Russian lady. Okay, I'm gonna look it up. I don't know. Her last name is so long and like very beautiful. And I feel like I'm going to. Sorry, I'm going to find her. I'm going to find her. She actually has an Etsy shop, which is pretty cool. Modern for a modern painter.
Also, it's a contemporary painter.
Yeah, she's
cool.
totally still around. Okay, I'm getting close to it. I bought a bunch of art prints. So her Etsy shop is called Plant My Bones. And let me click on it. And about. That should have her name. Alexandra Dvornica is her name. And she does this beautiful, this surreal forest, nature-based paintings with mushrooms and women and bears. And I don't know, I have a couple of prints in my kitchen. She's a very cool artist.
I'll have to take a look at that. You mentioned mushrooms. Sorry. I read Mexican Gothic last year, and I never look at mushrooms the same now.
You know, I can't read horror, but I have heard about the mushrooms in that book and how people have changed their relationship with mushrooms.
I mean, I would still have them on pizza, just in the wild.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do you set a goal to write a certain number of words, or do you approach it from a more creative standpoint, like who and which characters you want, conflict and climax, etc.?
Well, sometimes I outline. Well, actually, I think every book I have done at least a very rough outline. So this is sorry, I feel like the light's getting dark. Am I dark? Should I turn a lamp on, or is it okay?
I can still see you.
Okay. This is when I handwrite a book now, I kind of use these notebooks because the smaller pages make me feel like I'm doing a lot more work than when I with a larger one. It's to help me feel better. So when I wrote Moonfuentes, this is the book I started Moonfuentes on. I wrote 3 pages a day. Sometimes I would do 4, but just the 3. Wait, hold on. There it is. Just these 3 pages a day. And I was done in 6 months. I did the same thing with my 3rd book. With my 4th book, I kind of blew through it on the computer, but I don't think that's my method. I think I need to write at least a good chunk of the book by hand. So that's I guess that if that answers the question. That is it. That's how I do it.
I think I'm like that too. I like to write things out. When I take notes, for work, they're usually boring, but or writing out, like for instance, I had to write out the script for today. I did it by hand, and then I move it over. I just feel, I don't know, working with my hands.
Yeah, there's
piece of paper.
Yeah, there's something really, I don't know. Julia Cameron says that the time it takes to put the thought onto ink and pen or paper is, I don't know, just there's a really important part of the creative process there. That said, there's people that write beautiful books with computers, and I don't think I'm one of them.
Yeah. So someone asked, my 6-year-old daughter has shown interest in writing. What can I do to help foster that interest?
Well, I remember when I was that age, my teachers made like blank books with just construction paper folded in half and stapled together. And I thought it was like the coolest thing. So I'd say give her tons of blank books and let her read to her tons of books. Just keep books around.
Come visit us and we'll give you books.
Yes, go to the library.
And I think we talked about before show how much we were kids that loved to read, and we would hang out the library at school. So we have another question. You may have already said it, but can you tell us a little bit about your cat? Does your cat interfere with or contribute to your writing?
My cats, I have 2, they're new. They are I think they're 7 or 8 months old now. They're almost full grown. So the way they contribute to my writing, which we did speak briefly, is that when I pull out my laptop to check my emails in the morning, they like to jump on me and distract me. And sometimes they're very sweet. Like right now, my kitties, one of them is at my feet sleeping and just being snuggly. So that's always a nice writing companion. I might put a cat in my next book. It's a book about witches, and they're, cats and witches go together.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Let's see. So how lucrative is a career in writing, and how long does it take to really hit it big and become wealthy for a career as an author?
That's like so hard because I think the average advance for a book is like $10,000, which in today's economy isn't a ton of money. And writing a book is a ton of work. So it's just hard to say. Most writers don't make a lot of money. They do it for the love of it. Now, I'm really lucky that my writing does support my family. It's not something I tried or thought would ever happen. I don't know what I did special. It's just like, you just have to hope that an editor loves your book. loves your book. I don't know what else can help with that. There's so many amazing writers who are not getting huge advances, It's like, publishing can be hard. It's hard to predict.
So in Sia, her grandmother tells her, abuela tells her that they come from corn. Is there a specific reason that you picked corn, or what influenced that?
Yeah, maíz or corn is like a sacred plant in a lot of Mesoamerican cultures. And there are a few creation myths where the gods created people from corn. So that's kind of where it came from. I took this beautiful creation myths, and kind of just had this one line as an homage to them. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Did you do a lot of research in looking up any myths or folklore?
I did a little bit of research. A lot of it came from my family, like, and the stuff we heard growing up.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm just reading through here.
Okay. Excuse me, I'm having fun. You take your time. I'm having a great time. I never have had this many questions before.
They're still coming in. Let's see. There's one from a teacher. So we have, do your books have teachers' guides, lesson plans, and or student discussion questions, class activities, etc.? Do you do that yourself, or would another company do that for you?
I have no idea. I haven't done it. However, there is, and of course I'm not going to remember the website. I will see if I can. I will find it.
Is it a database, teaching books?
Yeah, there's something with teaching books. Maybe that's it. Where they contacted me through my publisher, and they had me read they had me read stuff to record for the classroom. So they had me talk about myself, and they had me talk about the book and like what inspired it. So I'm on that website, whatever that is. I can't remember.
And you can access teaching books on our HCPL.net. You go to our databases, and it's free for everyone. And I think it is. I think that is teaching books that you're talking about, because you can listen to a sound recording of you introducing yourself and telling us who you're named after, because so I learned you were named after your grandmother, correct?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's it. That's the one. I was named after my grandmother, Maria Raquel. So.
Did your grandmother influence the character of Abuela?
Well, this grandmother, I never got to meet her, but this was my great grandmother who I was named after. And she's going to influence, actually, the book I'm working on more. She was the woman who believed that lightning was like attracted to itself. So she would cover mirrors if a lightning storm came. And for some reason, she thought cats attracted lightning, so she kicked them out of the house. So, I mean, it seems kind of mean, but that's what she thought. Kick the cats out when a storm came. My grandmother is Ofelia Villanueva, and she influences me so much. She just turned 81. And I'm so glad she just got her COVID shot. Such a relief.
Yay.
Yeah.
So let's see. Usha would like to know, could you tell us about the publishers you contacted, and how do you know who is trustworthy and who could publish your book?
Well, I went through an agent. So I first, I feel like I'm getting dark. So I'm going to turn the light on. I submitted my book to literary agents, and it's important to do your research so you have, a reputable agent who will represent your work to publishers, because certain publishers will not read your work unless an agent submits it to them. So I submitted my work to, I want to say 60 something, 70 maybe agents. Sia Martinez got like 60 something rejections before my first offer. And I think that's pretty typical. You got to send tons of queries out for someone to fall in love with your work. So my agent, Elizabeth Bewley, then sent it to editors from different publishing houses. And at that point, once you have a good agent, at that point, you can just kind of relax because they do the work to get your book out there. So, and they're going to send it to good people who, people from Simon and Schuster, for instance, who that's their job. When they get your work, they're going to do good by it. So,
thank you. Do you have any stories that take place in Tennessee or Alaska since you have lived there? Or have you considered those settings for the future?
I'm so glad I got that question. Moon Fuentes is, Moon, she spent a lot of time in Alaska. So this book is kind of like an ode to Alaska. And the book I was talking about with all the robots is set here where I live in Tennessee. So
did you get a chance to visit Arizona, or just did that inspire you, like a visit to Arizona for Sia Martinez?
I only drove through it. So I got to see the saguaro cactus. They look like people. And I don't know, the landscape just had a huge impact on me. So
it's gorgeous out there. We went down to Arizona when I was a kid, did the Grand Canyon and the Meter site, but it's just so lovely out there. Let's see. Do we have any other questions coming in? Oh, so the 1970s. Sia and Rose are huge fans of the 70s. Are you inspired by the 70s or any other particular decade?
Not necessarily. Like at the time, I was listening to a ton of Fleetwood Mac. So that came in the book. I love 70s fashion, which you can tell in the book. I really think men, if you look at the way men used to dress in the 70s, I think it was so beautiful. There was just lots of flower prints, lots of just what we would consider feminine style, but men just wore it, and like, I don't know, I think that's so cool. And I don't know, I do like the 70s. I don't know a ton about it. I didn't do a ton of research, but I just thought it would be an interesting, I guess, character development, or I can't think of the right word. An interesting personalities, I guess, for Sia and her friends.
Yeah, and I love that they bond over fashion and the music of the 70s. Or listening to Fleetwood Mac in class so loud that I think Noah hears them. I don't know, like Fleetwood Mac has gotten a lot of attention lately because of the Dreams cranberry juice TikTok that came out a few months ago.
Yes, Stevie Nicks is so cool and timeless, and
Great fashion sense.
yeah, just it's beautiful music. So
well, let's see if we have any other questions coming in. It doesn't seem like it. So I have one last question. What do you hope that your readers take away from Sia Martinez and the Moonlit Beginning of Everything?
my hope is that readers take away a sense of wonder, not just about the story, but about the world that they live in. Like there are little, like Rose says, there are miracles everywhere. I want people to feel that. And also that every creature and plant and person is worthy. So that's my hope. And maybe they'll watch the X-Files.
Maybe they'll watch the X-Files and start writing Buffy fan fiction for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
We'll have a revival.
Yeah. We'll inspire some teens to start writing and will keep us entertained. Well, it has been great having you here tonight. I've had a lot of fun talking to you.
Thank you. I had fun too.
So be sure, everyone, to check out Sia Martinez and the Moonlit Beginning of Everything at hcpl.net or on the Libby app. So thank you for joining us and have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.